Hello and welcome to Tucson, Arizona. I'm Randy. If it's your first time here, thanks for hanging out. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for returning. I'm out here babysitting a print. So if you watch my last video, I got a Bambu P1S with the AMS, and I've been printing like crazy. It's been a lot of fun, and I love the community that I found there and love the files. Man, it's been freaking rad learning about all this. I am a bit perturbed. So if you watch my last video, I mentioned that I've got some ANYCUBIC filament. That's what I have to say about that. So the reels, this is one I printed. This is two halves of one. I liked the idea of doing two different colors just because it looks funner that way. But the ANYCUBIC spools, now they come on reels. If you buy Bambu filament, typically you're buying a refill, and it will not. You'll have to already have spools. I've ordered more Bambu spools. Hopefully they'll be here by Saturday. That's my Alabama birth control hopes. But in the meantime, I've printed this because I do have a few other refills, but I didn't have any spools right now. The ANYCUBIC stuff that I bought, again, if you haven't watched my last video on this, I bought for speed. It would get here really quickly, like same day delivery. So I read a few reviews, saw a bunch of good, more good than bad, which doesn't always mean anything, but I'm one of those people that like to leave a review on anything I purchase online. And I try to give detail and be as honest as possible to help prevent someone else from wasting their money. The filament is decent so far. Everything, like I've printed, I got a bunch of stuff here in front of the table, in front of me on the table that I'm going to show closer. The filament, 95% of the time, is freaking great. It definitely has a problem with the finer, smaller details, but not always. So it's like the things that don't have a lot of other support around it. Now, forgive me, I'm new to this. I'm going to get nomenclature very wrong, and I'm going to be very vague about some of my description, and I apologize ahead of time. I'm a caveman. I'm an idiot with no CAD training. I'm a knuckle dragger, okay? So in my last video, I pointed out on this Statue of Liberty, which is Sauron, which just made me very happy to see, and I had to have it. The sword is very janky. You could see that in my last video. But everywhere in the main body, the robes, everything's crisp, it's smooth, it's perfect. It's exactly what you want out of a print. But where it starts getting into narrow, like very thin detail, it doesn't stack well. But I've noticed with the Bambu product, as I said in my previous video, the smaller points, like I got this little Charizard here that I printed up for my buddy's kids. The little points on his wings, on his horns, on his little bitty claws, everything looks great. And I mean, you're slowly rolling out a stack in the print on these little bitty horns, and they're perfect. I mean, I think there was a few little hairs on them, but generally speaking, perfect. I've done a few like rhinos now, which I also pointed out. So his ears and his horns, perfect. That's with the Bambu filament. Now, I've got this Gandalf that I printed the other day. The detail, fantastic. In his face, like it looks like Sir Ian McKellen. Like his nose, his eyes, his eyebrows, everything looks great, even up close. I don't know if this is an accident or if it's part of the file, but it actually looks like he's got like a forehead wrinkle going across his forehead. Really fleshes out detail. If it's on accident, beautiful accident. If it's on purpose, very well executed. The beard looks great. Everything looks shimmery and like flowing. Like the robes look fantastic. The sword, same freaking problem as this sword. The staff, it has a seam. You get a little bit harsher layering as you get up into the top where the stone and the like knot of his staff is. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings like myself, you remember the staff. It's got all these branches, right? Because it's almost like a knot with a stone in it, and like lots of hairs here. The cool thing about this file print is his hands and staff and hand, and sword were separate prints. So you printed him up by himself. It's recessed. The recess is great. The shaping for the hand joints, everything flawless, except for the finer detail where everything starts to be a smaller print. And I'm only noticing this problem so far with this ANYCUBIC filament. I can live with all that because these prints are for me. Like right now, I'm not trying to make any money off of it. Someday, maybe, but the market's kind of saturated with selling 3D product. Right now, I'm mostly printing things that I really want and then things that I think friends and family members might want as gifts. So I got a few fun files that I found for like my dad's birthday's coming up. I just keep randomly printing up cool things that I know my wife would like. So I've got the Ghost King here as a bust, and it's a 2-piece, so it's got a stand and then him. Everything looks pretty good generally. The finer points in his crown on this came out okay. It's something someone would nitpick you for if you were trying to sell it, respectfully. I got Sauron, the white here, and his hair looks freaking phenomenal. His face looks great. Even the edging for the bust, because it's almost supposed to look like chipped marble or granite. Everything looks great on him. His little stand, which is supposed to be his tower, leaves something to be desired on some of the finer points. You got a little ring wraith here, and he looks great. But again, the sword, the final points of the sword. This filament, and I'm blaming the filament because I don't know what else to blame. And then I've got the Predator here, and he came out freaking phenomenal. Again, near the end of this, I'll bring him up closer so you can actually see the quality. I've still got some supports in his dreadlocks that I've got to get out without breaking anything. And then I did a little knockoff Batman because, let's face it, none of this stuff is licensed, I'm sure. I got a little dry bones from Mario. Just kind of lays there. And then a Mario hammer that I did with some fun colors. So I'm sure I printed some other things too that are probably in the house. The major problem I'm having with ANYCUBIC, outside of the narrow stacking, which just isn't great, it really screws up the piece. When this thing looks as awesome as it does overall, and then you start looking at those details, you go, it kind of takes away from it, because otherwise it's freaking awesome. And this was supposed to be like a piece that's always going to stay out here visible. The major problem I'm having with this product is right here. They come on narrower, so your opening's narrower, and they're not as wide in radius, right? So the full circumference is smaller, and it's narrower here. And they're cardboard, and in shipping, if cardboard can smash, you drop it, you get a little flat spot. The AMS is a roller system, so you'll have this. If you're unfamiliar, you've got 4 reel slots across the top, each going to their own feeder. So this thing just rotates as it's being pulled for more material, but they also backfeed a lot. I don't understand all of the circumstances when they backfeed, but they do backfeed material a lot. So the spool needs to roll in both directions freely. And at any given time throughout the print, it might kick material back. All day today, I've been printing something that was a surprise for my wife. And it's a big, it's going to be a big gremlin bust in green. I was super stoked when I found the file, and it was only going to take, like 6.5 hours. So it was able to print while I was at work. Most of these I print either while I'm at work, because I mean I could have an 8 to 12 hour day any given day without warning. So if I print a file that's 8 to 10 hours, I'm happy with that because by the time I get home, it'll probably be done or close to it. And then I can take it out, clean it up, whatever needs to be done with it, take off supports and things, and then set it up and move on to the next print. And then I print a few smaller, like little 2 hour pieces. I mean, this is several different pieces. And I'll print up the little things, put them together, giggle about them, set them somewhere in the house, hide them, whatever. And then at night when I go to bed, I want to print another big one. So like last night, I printed the Predator because it was like a 10-hour print. If you're having problems with feeding and your machine shuts itself off because it jams up, that's a problem. And it's annoying because then you have to physically come out here, correct the issue on the spool, and then start the machine again. Today, so what you can hear in my background is my printer still working on this print because that thing is jammed. I've lost count. Realistically, I think it stopped 10 times today. Fortunately, my wife is able to come home a lot throughout the day, so she has reset the machine a lot. But in doing so, on probably the 6th or 7th time that she restarted it, because normally she just comes out here, fixes the spool, tells me it's done, and then I remotely tell it to start again. I taught her how to start it from on board, so I don't have to. She doesn't have to text me and wait for me to get it started because she likes to monitor it for a minute or two, make sure everything looks okay before she walks off. Once I told her how to control it from the onboard control, she then read the name of what it is on the screen. Up until now, if I send her out here and she doesn't touch the screen's asleep. She has no idea what's printing. So I've been able to surprise her with some fun things. Gremlins is one of her favorite movies ever, so I was printing her up this. I mean, it's going to be a pretty big gremlin. It's taking up most of the table. But then she got to read it. So surprise kind of busted because material jams. So what's happening is this thing's not spooling properly, and it gets stuck for whatever reason. I don't know if it's too narrow, if it's too small in circumference. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is, but as it's going, the filament is, rolled up like a garden hose. And when it stops, it keeps pulling it tight, and then eventually it pulls it across and jams it down across the edge and binds it in everything else. And there's no way to force the machine to backfeed to try to help clear it remotely. These are problems you have to be here to fix. That's super annoying to me. I want this stuff to just work. I'm sure to some degree this has happened with Bambu material. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I did order a substantial order this morning for Bambu material. I also ordered more empty reels because I'm about to start a huge project with, I don't know, like a week and a half worth of consistent printing for stuff for church to surprise some kids for VBS. And I want to get that started now. So I just ordered a bunch of different materials and then some more factory reels. But I printed this one up. I'm going to try it out. I will do another video talking about just this, if I like this file, if it works well. I read a lot of good things, a lot of comments from people who have already printed it and loved it and had no issues. I'm hoping that when I get my Bambu stuff, I transfer this and I'll try it out. And I'm hoping everything goes flawlessly. I don't think there's a way for me to transfer the filament that's already on these stupid cardboard reels onto this, because all of the Bambu ones are two-piece. So you're able to undo them. There's some steps to carefully remove filament that you have on your spool to store it so it doesn't get to be a nightmare and all tangled up and screwed up and then cause the problem I'm having now for somebody. So anyways, just a follow-up. A few days later, I've now printed a lot with this ANYCUBIC, and I've had this problem a couple of times, but today seems to be the worst one. So be cautious, do your research. I regret buying this stuff. I mean, the quality looks great. The gray gives a really fun silver look to it, and like a nice shimmer. But holy crap, man, this feeding problem is more annoying than any rifle jamming problem I've ever had, or pistol. Like, this is like stovepiping, but you're 6 hours away from finishing a job to be able to come and clear a stovepipe, just for it to do it again immediately after. It's not a fix you can do remotely, so it's kind of annoying. And it really, if you're on a time sensitive print, which I don't know why anyone would be, but I mean, if you're just excited and you promise to get something done, or you really had something that you designed that you need printed for X, Y, and Z reason, it's really going to come down to having the quality of material that doesn't jam up your machine and gum up your works and stop you. I mean, I'm now 2 hours behind just on a fun print. But if this was something I had to have done by this evening or by this afternoon, I'd have been hosed. So just think about it. Do your research. I mean, I went into all this blind, and I only did X amount of research. I'm already getting people to tell me to get rid of this printer and buy a different printer. That's not going to happen. I love the printer, and I just sunk a ton of money into all this, and I'm I'm not doing that. But someday in the near future, I might buy a second printer, and I'm fielding all kinds of new information on that. But a part of the reason I bought this is I've already got a buddy that owns 4 Bambu printers, and he's been doing this for a long time. So if I have an issue, or if I need to learn something on the fly, I don't have to deal with YouTube and tech support and people I've never met online giving. I mean, like, you're watching me now, but I'm not trying to give advice. I'm just trying to give you my experience with these things. You might have bought ANYCUBIC and loved it, but right now I've got a buddy that has all the knowledge about this. So if he has files that I need, he can send them over, no problem. If he's ever had an issue, or if I'm having an issue and I don't know how to fix it, I can use a phone call away and I can get this thing fixed, no problem. Super easy tech support. So it's a big part of why I went with the Bambu. I don't have enough knowledge to say which printer is the best, so I'm not saying that. I like this one a lot, and I don't have anything bad to say about it yet. The filament has definitely been kind of an annoyance. But I'll go ahead and bring these up to the camera real quick, and then I'll end this one. Just if you want to see some of these things, they're pretty freaking rad, in my opinion. So I'll show these off real quick. So yeah, that's those. Pretty freaking rad. Again, mostly feeding problems and then small detail issues. I think you probably saw some of the little wisps on the staff. So anyways, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's what I'm experiencing so far. So if you got any other experiences, or if you've had nothing but great luck with this stuff, hit me up, let me know. If you want to see something special printed, hit me up, let me know, and I'll try to find it. Be kind of fun to do. So thanks for hanging out this long. I'm Randy, Tucson, Arizona. Peace.